I want you to imagine something for a second. It's a little unsettling, frankly. You're a parent, and you have an adult daughter, and you've been a songwriter for years, so she knows you're creative. But one day, she comes to you with this request. She doesn't want advice. She doesn't want money. She wants you to write a song.
Okay, that sounds pretty sweet so far. A personal commission.
Right, but wait for the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
She specifically asks you to write a song for her to listen to after you die.
Oh.
She wants your voice recorded now so she has something to comfort her at your funeral someday.
Whoa. Okay, that took a turn. That is heavy. That's not a creative request. That's like preemptive grief management.
Exactly. And that is the hook for today's deep dive. We are looking at the story, the sheet music, and the raw audio behind a song called Never Walk Alone by a songwriter named Misti Flowers.
And I've been through this material, the transcript of her story, the PDF of the musical score, the audio files, and on the surface, yeah, it looks like a story about how a song gets made. But if you really dig into the timeline and the psychology of it, it becomes a case study in intuition, music, trauma, and honestly, one of the wildest coincidences I've ever seen, if you can even call it that.
It really is something else. So let's set the scene properly. The year is 2021. Misti Flowers is this veteran songwriter, and her daughter, Chelsea, is an adult. But Misti notes in her transcript that Chelsea had developed this unusual fear.
Right, and reading her account, it wasn't just, some general anxiety. It was a very specific fixation on her mother's mortality. Chelsea kept saying things to her like, Mom, I think you might die. What am I going to do? She was asking for a tangible legacy. In estate planning, we leave assets, a house, some money. Chelsea was asking for an emotional asset.
She wanted her mother's voice bottled up for a crisis that hadn't happened yet. Which is, that is a lot of pressure to put on one song. So Misti agrees. Of course she does. She loves her daughter. She sits down at the piano to write this legacy song, and nothing.
The classic writer's block. Forced creativity.
She says she hit a brick wall for months. She tried to force it, begging out chords, and she just described the result as trash.
Well, think about the cognitive load there. She's not just writing a melody. She's trying to sum up her entire existence as a mother for an audience of one after she's gone. That's paralyzing.
Yeah, totally. But what's so fascinating to me isn't the block itself, it's how it broke. She wasn't at a studio. She wasn't on some creative retreat.
No, she was cleaning her house.
She was dusting the piano, literally, rag in hand, just wiping it down.
And that is textbook neuroscience. We see this all the time. When you do a repetitive, mundane task dusting, washing dishes, folding laundry, your brain enters what we call the default mode network.
The default mode network.
Yeah, the DMN. It's a state where your executive function, the part of your brain that's always criticizing and stressing and managing things, it goes offline, it quiets down.
The manager is asleep.
The manager's asleep, and when that happens, the subconscious is finally free to push ideas forward. Misti couldn't write the song while she was trying to write it. She had to get bored first.
She describes it a bit more spiritually than brain boredom. She says she just heard a melody, sat down, and the whole atmosphere changed. She calls it a soul-to-soul merge with her daughter.
And that's the emotional experience of that brain state. She says she wasn't just writing, she was feeling what Chelsea would feel in that future moment of loss. She describes this physical reaction. She just started sobbing. She said it felt like a raw data transfer from the ether.
She was crying so hard she actually had to stop and take a shower to try and reset, but she said the second verse just kept coming through. She couldn't turn it off. So let's look at what actually came out of this trance. We have the lyrics and the score. What makes this different from, just some generic I'll always love you ballad?
Specificity. That is always the key to anchoring a memory. If you look at the second verse in the transcript, she doesn't use these big abstract metaphors. She lists cartwheels in the yard.
And this one, riding a bike into the neighbor's car.
Right. That's the detail that jumped out at me. The neighbor's car.
It's so specific.
It's so specific. And the fear she felt when Chelsea's own son was born, by anchoring the song in these really concrete shared memories, she's validating their entire relationship. She's telling her daughter, I was there, I saw your life, I saw you crash that bike. Psychologically, that is so much more grounding for a grieving person than just hearing, I love you. It's proof.
So let's get into the music theory for a minute, because the score here reveals some very deliberate choices, or maybe intuitive ones. This is the PDF file, neverwalkaloneLyrics.score. When you look at the composition, is there anything technical that explains why it works so well as a comfort tool?
Absolutely. Two things stand out immediately. First, the tempo. It's marked at 60 BPM.
That's pretty slow.
It is, but it's a very specific number. 60 beats per minute is roughly the rate of a resting human heartbeat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In music therapy, we talk about entrainment. If you listen to a rhythm at 60 BPM, your own heart rate, you breathing, they tend to synchronize with it. It physically forces your body to calm down. It's not a song to march to, it's a biological regulator.
So the tempo is literally hacking your nervous system.
Pretty much, yeah. If she had written this at 120 BPM, it would create anxiety. At 60, it's a sedative.
And what about the key?
It's in C major.
Which is, that's the most basic key, right? All the white keys on a piano.
It is basic, but in this context, basic means safe. C major has no sharps, no flats. It resolves very cleanly. When your brain is in a state of high anxiety or grief, it doesn't want complex jazz chords or dissonance. It craves resolution. C major gives you a predictable, clear home for your ear.
So you have a heartbeat tempo and a safety first key.
You got it. It reduces the cognitive load.
So she writes this physiological calm down track. She's emotional. She's crying. She decides she has to record it right then and there. She doesn't go to a studio, doesn't even set up a proper microphone. She grabs a gamer headset.
A cheap plastic gamer headset, probably with some neon light on the side belonging to her other daughter.
I just love that detail. She puts on this headset, hits record, and plays it live. And she claims that that specific recording hiss, pops and all, is better than anything she could ever do in a studio.
And she's probably right. She captured the affect. In audio engineering, we can fix your pitch, we can fix timing, add reverb. We cannot manufacture the tremor of genuine emotion. It was in that merged state she talked about. If she had gone to a studio a week later, it would have been a performance. This was documentation of a feeling. It's like a wiretap on a breakdown.
Okay, so the song is done. She records it, sends it to Chelsea. Mission accomplished. Legacy secured.
And this is where the story stops being about songwriting and starts being about something else, something unexplainable.
The timeline. We have to look at the metadata on these files.
Right. The date of creation, the writing, the recording, was August 12th, 2021. Misti says that date is burned into her brain.
Because the very next day was Friday, August 13th.
And that's when the phone rang. It wasn't Chelsea, it was a doctor. And the news wasn't about Misti dying.
No. The news was about Misti's youngest daughter. Not Chelsea, the little one. Only 14 years old.
And the diagnosis was cancer. Aggressive. Metastasizing. The doctors told her they needed to move fast, fast, fast.
I just want to pause on that because the irony here is just suffocating. Misti spends months trying to write a song to help her adult daughter cope with her own future death. She finally has this breakthrough, and exactly 24 hours later, she is facing the potential death of her teenage child.
It completely flips the script. The tool that was designed for the future was suddenly, desperately required for the immediate present. But the thing that really struck me in her transcripts is how the lyrics changed meaning for her overnight.
Yeah, she mentions the chorus specifically. Take to the sky, let your spirit soar.
Just think about that line. On August 12th, take to the sky is a metaphor for Chelsea finding strength after her mom is gone. It's empowering. On August 13th, looking at your sick 14-year-old with aggressive cancer, take to the sky sounds like...
letting go.
It sounds like letting go. It sounds like permission to die.
That's terrifying. If I were her, I think I'd hate that song. I'd want to bury it. It would feel like a bad omen. Like, did I just write this into existence?
You'd think so. A lot of people would run from it. But she did the complete opposite. And the data here it's staggering. Misti checked her iTunes stats for the week right after the diagnosis.
It was played 3,300 times.
3,300. Let's just do the math on that. A week has, about 10,000 minutes in it? If the song is 3 or 4 minutes long, 3,300 plays means that song was playing pretty much 24 hours a day.
She was playing in her sleep.
She says it just filled the house, day and night. You never walk alone. You never walk alone. It's a coping mechanism we call environmental regulation.
Environmental regulation?
Yeah, when your internal world is just chaos, and she describes her world as crumbling, you try to impose an external structure on your environment just to keep yourself sane. She literally filled the silence with the promise she had channeled just hours before the crisis hit.
It's like building a shield out of sound waves.
Precisely. She wasn't listening to the music for enjoyment. She was using the song to hold the space together so she didn't fall apart. She says she needed to hear that message herself.
That's the real shift, isn't it? The line, I'll be nearby like I was before. Suddenly, that wasn't Misti talking to Chelsea. It was Misti needing to know that she wasn't alone in that hospital room.
And that brings us to the universal message part of her story. She talks about the heavenly host.
Right. She realized the we in Never Walk Alone wasn't just about her and her daughter anymore.
It became a spiritual support system. She needed to believe, for her 14-year-old's sake, that if the worst happened, her child wouldn't be walking that path alone. The song expanded. It went from a duet to this huge choir.
She mentions later that they did try to polish the song. There's a demo version where they added violins and a cello gave it a beautiful dress, she calls it. But she refused to re-record the vocals.
Which goes right back to the authenticity of that gamer headset. She knew that the crackle and the raw breath, that was part of the medicine. You can't polish a life raft. You just need it to float.
This just raises this massive question about intuition. Misti even wonders about it herself. Did she know?
This is the big takeaway for me. We often think of intuition as some kind of magical hunch. But there's a theory that our subconscious is constantly processing data that our conscious mind just ignores.
Like what kind of data?
Subtle changes in her daughter's health, maybe her energy levels, just the atmosphere in the house. Things you don't notice consciously, but your brain logs it all.
So the writer's clock lifted on August 12th. Not by magic, but because her subconscious knew a crash was coming.
It's a possibility. Misti feels she was prepared by a higher power. She says the song came from the ether. But from a psychological view, you could argue her brain forced her to complete this coping mechanism just before the trauma hit because it sensed the danger. The message, "You never walk alone," wasn't for Chelsea anymore. It was for Misti.
That is a really powerful thought, that your own brain might be looking out for you, forcing you to pack a bag for a trip you don't even know you're taking yet.
Exactly. Here, take this. You're going to need it tomorrow.
Wow. And the song itself, structurally, if you go back to the score, it ends on that repeating chorus. Then you'll always know you never walk alone, over and over.
It's a mantra. When you are in a crisis, you don't need complex philosophy. You need a simple, repeatable truth to hold on to. That repetition in the songwriting mirrors her playing it 3,300 times on iTunes. It's about reinforcing a reality that you are desperate to believe in.
And Misti is sharing this story now, not just as a behind the scenes of a song. She says she hopes it can be a song for the listener to go back to, too. A support for other people.
Which is the final step of that artistic journey, right? It starts as a private gift, becomes a personal lifeline, and then gets released as a universal utility. She talks about the heavenly host waiting to walk with you. By sharing the story and the song, she's basically inviting you into that support circle.
It's just an incredible journey for one song. It starts with a daughter being afraid of her mom dying, and it ends up being about how they all survived emotionally, a completely different kind of trauma.
And it highlights that we so often don't know why we're compelled to create or do something in the moment. The meaning just creates itself in retrospect. Misti couldn't have known why she was crying so hard over that second verse on August 12th.
But on August 13th, she knew.
On August 13th, she understood.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage you, if you can find it, to listen to the song. And keep in mind that what you're hearing is a woman on the exact day before her entire life changed.
And really pay attention to the silence between the notes, because that's where the fear was, and that's where the comfort had to fill in.
Misti Flowers set out to leave a legacy for her daughter, and in the end, she created a survival guide for herself. It's a powerful testament to the idea that, as the lyrics say, we never walk alone, even when the road gets incredibly painful.
And that support can come from the most unexpected places, even from a melody that just pops into your head while you're dusting the furniture.
So I want to leave you with a thought to chew on today. We talk about intuition as a hunch, a guess. But in this case, it was a full-blown creative compulsion that happened exactly 24 hours before a tragedy. It makes you ask, is our subconscious mind constantly scanning the horizon, preparing us for trauma before it even arrives? And if it is, what small anthems or preparations might you be making right now for a future you haven't even met yet?
That's a big question.
It is. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.